All right, coming up on this episode of the DTVC podcast, the guys from Comeuppance are back, and we're talking about Michael Dudikoff again. So the last time we talked about Dudikoff, a couple of years ago, it's episode 80 in the archives, so you can check that one out. This time we're kind of doing our next 5 movies of his, or Unsung Dudikoff, as we like to call it. As you may have noticed, it's been a little while since we've had Brett on the podcast. So Ty we've had on as we've been looking at these Bruce Willis movies, but Brett had been on. It's been a little while since Brett went on. He had some tech issues, so it made it easier for him to just record with Ty. But now Brett's back, and so we're going to look at some Dudikoff here in just a moment. Also, next week, I'll be continuing that Fast and Furious look that I've been doing. This will be movies 4 and 5, so I'm going to start to transition, right, that Fast and Furious series from just a sort of a standard action or nothing too crazy into this blockbuster phenomenon that it becomes. So it'll be kind of cool as we discuss that and talk about how that happens and kind of what that change was like. You can follow on the same podcast stream as this one, so as long as you're subscribed, you'll be able to catch those episodes next week. And then probably after that, Ty and I did a couple Casper Van Dien movies, and we talked about those. So that one will probably be the next episode, and that'll kind of finish off May for us. So look out for those. Also, outside of our podcast, I was a guest on the After Movie Diner. I got to, for the first time, be a part of the After Movie Diner's Sleazy Spader Springtime. We talked about the movie Crash. Before that, we also talked a little bit about the writing process, because John Cross, who does the After Movie Diner, he's making a movie, and this iteration of his podcast is talking about that process of him making the movie, and so he had me on to talk about writing. Of course, I've written a few novels and kind of talk about what that process is like, that getting yourself into that mode of being able to write. So it's a really, really fun conversation that I have with him, both about sort of the writing process and talking about the movie Crash. It's a big, meaty, long podcast, which of course I'm no stranger to long podcasts, so keep that in mind. But it was a lot of fun, and I was really enjoyed being on and finally doing my part on Sleazy Spader Springtime. So definitely check that out. As far as the blog goes, if you go to my Letterboxd page, you'll notice that I have, I think that the list is called Upcoming Reviews Watched or Upcoming Movies Watched. And it's all the movies that I've seen that are kind of in the process that, that are up to possibly be reviewed. And you'll notice that Robo Vampire, the Godfrey Ho movie, has been there for a long time, and I just haven't gotten around to reviewing it. We'll see. Maybe this Saturday we'll finally get that one in the can, but if not, maybe some weeks after. I also want to get some Fred Williamson up, so probably do a Fred Williamson movie in the near future here too. And of course, there's some new movies out that I've been meaning to get to. Gary Daniels has one, Repeater, that's free on Prime, and I believe it's on Tubi. Want to try to get to that one soon, and then. Scott Adkins has the new Accident Man movie. That one is on Hulu, so that's one I've been meaning to check out as well. And of course, Ty and I, we've been doing these Bruce Willis movies, and there's a bunch of those in the can. We'll see if I start getting some of those reviewed. But yeah, in the near future, we'll see if Robo Vampire happens. But I think if I get some Williamson, we need to get some more Fred Williamson in there as well, as we try to get him into the 30 club. So we'll see what happens there. All right, so we'll take a quick break, and then we'll get into the meat of the podcast as I bring on Ty and Brett from Comeuppance to talk about some Michael Dudikoff.
Hey everyone, we'll get back to the podcast in a second, but first I have a new novel out, Holtman Arms. It follows Colvin Hall, an aspiring writer who decides to write a romance novel on a whim, sends it to a publisher, and it becomes a huge success. The only problem is, no one knows it's him because he writes under the pen name Mary Ballantyne. With all of the money and none of the fame, Colvin longs for the world to recognize his accomplishments. When he gets an opportunity to write a freelance article on a washed-up 90s pop star looking for a comeback, that recognition starts to come, but is it all he hoped for? It doesn't matter, because he's getting it whether he likes it or not. Holtman Arms is the second in my author's cycle after A Girl and a Gun, and like that previous novel, it explores themes of success and accomplishment in the 21st century. You can buy it now through Amazon in paperback or on Kindle. The link is in the podcast description. As always, thanks for your support.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Direct-to-Video Connoisseur podcast. As always, this is Matt here, and I am joined once again by Ty from Comeuppance and by Brett from Comeuppance. Welcome back, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. And then the last time we both did this was for Gary Busey.
getting abusive.
We got abusive, yeah. Because I think what happens, I think Brett, you had some tech issues that made it hard for you to join our podcast.
Yes.
Yeah, and then Ty and I have been on this crusade to do Willis films, so that's also
which I
another big-
applaud. I mean, it's a tough undertaking, and I know you guys are soldiering through it, and I
Yes.
wish you guys all the best.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, it's a fascinating thing because I think people listening to the podcast, they almost
good.
want to make sense of these Willis films too. So it's like it's almost like we're giving them something like where we're trying to make sense. And plus, there's all the tangents, of course, that happen.
Yeah, of course, but you're right.
Meditate.
You're providing much needed comfort for the confusing world we live in, as far as not just in general, but also in the world of the fact that Emmett Furla Productions and Grindstone Entertainment releases a new Bruce Willis movie every 2 weeks or so.
Yeah,
But he's
yeah,
run out now, unfortunately. I'll have to watch his last movie, which is called Assassin.
yeah.
There's we'll watch it soon. Once it hits Tubi, I'm not paying.
Right, right, exactly. We're waiting because 2 of the 3 Detective Night films have hit Tubi, so we're waiting for the 3rd.
Yeah.
And we think we might slog through all 3 in one episode once that happens.
Yeah.
Well, I congratulate you and wish you the best on your journey.
Well, we did the 2 Dolphs last time, and then the last time we did a Dolph movie, Brett. Which is what is the title? Escaping me right now.
Operation Seawolf.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Operation Seawolf. I'm gonna sneak in the impression somehow. So it's like so I guess. Well, what have you been watching? Or you guys missed that?
Yeah. What have you guys been watching lately?
Well, I think it's notable that last night we watched a movie called Primal Instinct, aka Love.com, which you could be forgiven if you haven't heard of it, but it has Michael Madsen. And
Another great voice.
and also it has Edgar Allan Poe the Fourth.
Yep. He's a real descendant of the famed poet.
And if you look him up, he's been in movies. I mean, big movies such as Cape Fear and My Girl. But he's also been in a lot of low budget, and it doesn't get much lower than this.
Yeah,
and
it's low budget garbages. Yeah.
And how do you describe it? It's from 2002. Right. And
Yes.
It deals with I don't know if you call it the early internet, but in the internet at that time, which looks a lot more primitive than what we're used to today in the world of like the underground world of what do you call it, like bondage and sadomasochism. And this probation officer has to go undercover basically as a dominatrix to find out what happened to her missing sister. Is that a fair description?
Yeah, that's fair. That's pretty fair.
It makes it sound a lot better than it is.
Yeah, it's not. Very good.
But Michael
Well,
Madsen's in it for a couple minutes, and he really puts in, I guess we'd call an admirably uncaring performance. Like he like he does not care. I mean, it's tough to blame
He
him.
says that. It's like, yeah, I don't know.
Like he ends most of his lines with "I don't know." It's like, I don't know, and that's kind of entertaining to watch. The early internet stuff is entertaining. The movie, I mean, it looks, as Ty might say, garbagey. Like there's really no production values to speak of. But the early internet and the Michael Madsen factor and the very strange way that Edgar Allan Poe the Fourth speaks almost makes it worth watching. But
And
I don't.
The ending, I guess, is completely ridiculous.
I mean, there's some unintentional humor to be had for sure, but I don't know that I could, in good conscience, recommend this movie to someone.
The cop, the old guy cop.
That's true. There is a very funny character, like the cop on the beat, who he's like this older, kind of chunky, rotund, middle-aged man who likes to do air ukulele at his desk, and you just kind of have to see it to believe it. And he has this it's a hot dog, and inexplicably, one of the police officers working under him is this woman with a very, very thick Eastern European accent, and she stubs out his hot dog like a cigarette. It's just you
gotta see this, maybe.
You kind of have to see it to believe it.
It could have the greatest fight scene of all time.
Oh yes,
the
Raid and John Wick eat your heart out when you see some of these fight scenes.
Yeah. It's like
I mean, it's on the level. I mean, talk about DIY. I believe most people listening to this could make a movie of better quality. So it's kind of interesting that it got onto VHS and Ty said DVD. It got onto shelves. It got out there. So it's inexplicable kind of, but they did it. They got it out there into the world and somehow,
Well-
and yeah, it's 90 minutes.
What's the place? Now my memory's terrible today, but it's kind of like with like coconuts. It was in
Strawberries. Oh, Suncoast, right?
What was at the mall?
Suncoast.
It was a sun. No, like in the past couple of years, we went there.
FYE.
Thank you. Yeah, at Crown
yes.
Thing with the FYE and on DVD in that budget section.
Oh.
Do they
And one of those
yeah.
cardboard sleeves or a
I think
regular?
it was a cardboard sleeve. Go ahead, Matt.
No, because I was actually in the mall, the Deptford Mall in New Jersey. My first time in a mall, and actually it was pretty busy for a Sunday, last Sunday. And I saw they had an FYE there, and I was like, oh, I wanted to. I was there for some other stuff, and I had to catch my bus back to Philly, so I didn't go in, but I didn't realize they had a bargain. I mean, I could see if a love.com might be there.
Yeah, that's probably
We'll
your
look for
best
Primal
bet.
Instinct. That's the
Yeah.
title.
Yeah,
Primal
I mean,
Instinct. Okay.
Yeah, look for Primal Instinct. I think his love.com is kind of. I mean, that could be like a romantic comedy, like a You've Got Mail. This is.
Yeah.
They were smart to change the title, even though.
Yeah.
I kind of like the title love.com, but it doesn't really fit the movie that much.
No. And
But
there's
yeah,
some
next
weird
time
stuff.
there's weird editing choices, and there's like all these shots of this stone gargoyle for no reason, and it's just I don't know. It's one of those things that people who watch a lot of DTV movies would maybe appreciate, but it's far from a high recommendation
It's
or
far from
good. But if you go to FYE next time, if you have the time, maybe look for it.
Yeah, it looks like back in the days when you had really good stuff on on cable and stuff, that this would be a good like Saturday or Sunday afternoon.
Oh yeah.
Cable watch. Like
I mean,
this.
I think they were aiming for like a Saturday night cable watch, like a
Right.
Skinemax.
3 a.m.
But there's actually no nudity in the movie, if I'm not mistaken.
Not really. There's like close to it.
Yeah,
There's
they
some
they
weird-
skirt around all the nudity. You'd think there'd be nudity in a movie like this, which the subject matter has to do with dominatrixes and such. But I don't think there actually is.
No. And that's the thing though too, because I think when it comes to sexual stuff, like this kind of thing, it wouldn't take much. Like for the bondage kind of S&M stuff, like that would be enough to make it like an R-rated kind of thing.
Definitely,
Yeah.
for sure.
Like, even if there wasn't nudity, it's like you like I think we've talked about this before. Like you can kill as many people as you want in a movie or a TV show or something like that. But if you if you get too sexual, too racy, that could be enough to get the rating jacked up there.
Yeah, maybe they were worried about that. I mean, but who knows what they were thinking with this thing? I mean,
Yeah, I know.
it's such a mess as it is. I mean, I don't know.
And I did watch the very somewhat similar Safe Word, which is a Tubi original.
To be
yes.
original. Wow.
I was messaging that to Matt the other day, and it's like this. It's like the African American version of 50 Shades of Grey, and it's just not good.
Yeah, and Marlon Wayans already came up with 50 Shades of Black, so
He
they
did,
couldn't do
yes.
that. But yeah.
No, so the one's called Safe Word because it's a Tubi original, which I telling to Matt.
Yeah.
The script, all the scripts on Tubi are really weirdly made or poor. There's no climax. There's no like really thriller-esque part to it at all, except for the funny ending. Which I
So
think I
if
told-
it doesn't have thriller elements or a good script or anything like that, what does it have, if anything?
the funny ending, that's it.
Oh, okay. And you said there's a twist ending that should have happened in the middle, which you're not going to give
Absolutely.
away, right?
I won't give
But-
away if you want to
But
watch
it should have happened in the middle, then other stuff should have come
Yeah.
after it. But then the fact that they saved this quote unquote huge twist for the end, you thought that was funny, right?
Yeah, I cracked up at the ending a little bit. Yeah. Well, what about you, man? You still watching Mad Men?
Yes. One quick thing. One last thing I want to say about
Go
Primal
ahead,
Instinct.
please.
It has one critic review, and that one critic review is Mitch, Video Vacuum.
Oh, okay.
What's
yeah.
he say?
Our
He
buddy.
gave it 1 star. Shoddily filmed, hastily edited, and monumentally boring. Primal Instinct follows the old trope of a prudish detective taking her kinky twin sister's place to find a murder. Xavier certainly looks hot in her blonde wigs and sexy latex nun get-ups, but she's ultimately unable to portray one character effectively, let alone 2. So, yeah.
It's harsh but fair. I mean, I get why he said all that. Sure. I mean,
Yeah,
Did he say
that's
anything
pretty
about
accurate.
Madsen?
He did. Let's see what it says here. It says, although he's featured prominently on the DVD artwork, Michael Madsen is only in a few brief scenes as an FBI agent on the case. He doesn't
Yeah,
show up until the
Russ.
movie's half over, and even then, he isn't given much to do. His biggest scene is his awkward love scene with Xavier that ultimately goes on forever and nowhere.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's true.
That's about right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So give it up to Mitch.
Yeah,
For
that-
sitting through this. What to ask
Yes.
him.
Yeah,
To get
thank you,
back on the
Mitch.
show and ask him about that.
And I
Yeah.
don't know if we're going to go any further with what we watched, but I wonder if I should mention Dark Asylum also. But I don't know.
Sure. Or yeah, Dark Asylum.
Really quickly, I
Okay.
watched a movie called Dark Asylum,
Is that with Scalia?
no, that's Dark Breed. I
Dark
think.
Breed. Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
no, Dark
Well, you can-
Asylum. I mean, how about this for a cast? It's got Paulina Portskova, Larry Drake, Jurgen Prochnow, and Judd Nelson. And you'd think the movie called Dark Asylum would be very dark, intense, scary horror movie.
Yeah.
It is one of the funniest movies I've seen in a while. It's one of the funniest comedies I've seen in ages that isn't supposed to be a comedy.
Right.
This movie is really, really funny. I think unintentionally, but the idea is that Larry Drake is a serial killer called the Trasher. And they call him that because apparently he throws his victims in the trash. And then they and so everyone's looking for him. They eventually find him. This isn't a spoiler. It happens in the first part of the movie. Then they put him in like this closing down asylum. It's like, oh, we're closing the asylum. We need a place to put the trasher. So they like put him in this asylum that's like closing. And then Paulina Portskova is inexplicably cast as like this police psychologist who is supposed to like examine the trasher. And Judd Nelson is like the janitor at the building, and then
Quits or something.
Yeah, his name is Quits.
I'm gonna watch it today. So go ahead.
So you can report back, and then basically what happens is the Larry Drake / the Trasher escapes his bonds and is running loose in the asylum, and then Paulina Portskova and Judd Nelson have to run around like avoiding his murderous intentions, and it's funny. Like there's some things that happen in the movie that are really like I was laughing just watching it because it's just you just have to see it. It's hard to describe. It's not that the tone is necessarily off. It tickled me that they thought they were making something scary, I think, but there's some very, very ridiculous and funny line readings and dialogue, and just the whole plot is very contrived. Like the whole thing of we have to put him in this asylum now that's closing, and the police are coming at midnight. We know this. So the police are coming at midnight, and it kind of reminded me of Cracker Jack 2, where Carol All goes on a financial planning train ride, which I think we've mentioned is just kind of an excuse to get her on the train that's the hostage train. It's kind of like that. It's like they engineered this situation in a well, with emphasis on the word contrived, and then they have to survive the night, as it were. And it's just, I know people don't really know it, but it came out on VHS. I think it's a Lionsgate, and it's really funny. So if people want to laugh, I would say check it out.
Yeah, I mean, Larry Drake, it seemed like between like this and Darkman and Dr. Giggles, like he was just trying to get out from underneath the Benny from LA Law shadow for essentially the whole rest of his career after LA Law, which I didn't realize he passed away in 2016, so I didn't realize he's no longer with us.
But he did have a good horror run there for a while. I mean, I think this is kind of like post Dr. Giggles, where he was seen as almost
post Giggle.
I think it's post Giggle, yeah.
You're right. Yes, it is 01, yeah.
Oh yeah.
So
I just wanted to say
that. So I think I don't know what was happening there. He was getting these horror roles, almost like he was seen as like a horror figure. Like they were, you know how like Robert Englund gets a lot of horror roles. I think maybe they're trying to do the same thing with Larry Drake at this point. And don't forget about Dark Knight of the Scarecrow as well.
Lawrence Drake, it's just can't really go wrong.
So
he's the return of Durant.
Yeah.
So he's back. Darkman 2.
Yes. Yeah. Well, but I think it's in Darkman 1. There's a very funny line when there's two Durants because of the effects of Darkman, and then like one of his underlings goes, "Which one is Durant?" And it's just a really funny line.
Is it done said in that kind of Liam Neeson?
It sounds just like that.
Yes.
It's maybe even funny. Which he's looking back and forth, and he goes, "Which one is Durant?" And it's funny.
I think I remember. I mean, one of the things, my favorite line from Darkman is is when he's like freaking out, like he's like the Darkman stuff is affecting him adversely, and he's like at the carnival with his wife, and he like snaps like the carnival guy's hand or whatever, and he's like, and he gives his wife the elephant, and she's like, "I don't want the elephant." He's like, "Take the fucking elephant." And
and that wasn't a bad Neeson.
It's probably one of the only things I can say in the Neeson voice is "Take the fucking elephant." It's like what is it?
Sean Connery, the only thing I can say in the Sean Connery accent is "You can't die, McLeod." Like that's the only, other than that,
Welcome to the Rock. It's like
yeah, exactly.
Brett, Sean Connery impression.
Oh, sorry, I got nothing for you.
Okay.
I really wish. But yeah, there are certain things you can only say one way, like the one-word Reagan impression. Well, like you could say "well" like Reagan, but that's about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like once you start trying to go. I was thinking about the other day. I was like, can I do a Scottish accent? And I can't. I can't do like there's no way. Like I could say maybe one or two things. Like shoot enough or something like that. But I can't like say like a whole like bunch of stuff in a Scottish accent. And
that's a good segue into saying that I was just talking about your Alex Jones impression.
Right.
Which I think you said on one.
Right, because we did the Joneses on the No Subject, the one that I was on recently, and Alex Jones came up, and so it's like, it's a false flag, and
I know I've heard your Alex Jones before. It's like, where have I heard this before? Oh yeah, it was on the No Subject.
No Subject.
Exactly. No,
I don't know if there's anything you guys want. Oh, sorry. Well, you want to talk about that you saw recently?
Yeah. So I was telling Ty that I was trying to go through the Star Wars, films again. So I watched 1 and 2, and I thought I would try to get into the Clone Wars kind of cartoon things that happened between the Clone Attack of the Clones movie and the Revenge of the Sith movie. So there's these cartoons that were done on the Cartoon Network, and it like literally in between the two movies, and they have a kind of like liquid television Aeon Flux kind of feel, right, from like the late 90s that makes them really cool. And they're like these very like they gathered them all together and to make like two like hour and 20-minute movies. The problem was I was having trouble finding them on Disney Plus, and I found out the reason why I couldn't find them on Disney Plus is that they've been relegated to this section in the Star Wars area of Disney Plus that's called like Legends or something like that. And it's
is it called Star Wars Retro or something?
Maybe
it's retro Star Wars. I feel like
it's something.
I don't have
like
Disney
that.
Plus, but I have heard of that they have a section called Retro Star Wars or something like that.
Yeah. So, essentially, I guess Lucas, because I guess Lucas still has a part in all of this, and I guess he decided that he didn't want those cartoons that were on the Cartoon Network to be considered, the great term we always use, canon, right? Yeah. I guess he didn't want them to be officially vintage. That's what they call it, Star Wars vintage.
Oh, Star Wars vintage. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And so essentially everything has been relegated there that like they don't consider to be part of the series. So like the Ewoks Adventure is in Star Wars vintage. A lot of these things are things that you expect, like the Ewoks kind of stuff, the Ewoks TV show, stuff like that, the cartoon. And so this is part of that. And so I was kind of disappointed because I started watching the actual Clone Wars series that Lucas was a part of, right? That Lucas wanted, which came out in like 07, 08, which I didn't even know existed. And it's not, I don't like it as much as those cartoons. Like, the cartoons just have a kind of a cool feel to them that, it's weird what Lucas liked and what he didn't like. It's like the whole, like watching the first movie again with the whole Jar Jar Binks thing and the whole Anakin Skywalker as a kid thing. It was like, why did he think this was going to work? Because it just didn't. And even as I'm older, it works even less now.
Well, I know he likes flannel, so it's like.
But and this vintage Star Wars section reminds me of something else, which is how talking about things he doesn't consider canon. He completely disowned the Star Wars holiday special.
Right.
I think it's from 1978 or so, like right after the movie. But yet, apparently they took this 9-minute segment out of it. And they called it like the Curious Wookiee or something, and it's just like it's just like Chewbacca walking around that they like. So they must know about the Star Wars Holiday Special. They didn't think it was worthy in of itself to put on Disney Plus, but they somehow edited out this 9-minute segment called the Curious Wookiee. I think that's what it's called, and so he might be warming to the idea of putting the full Star Wars Holiday Special on there, because that's where they originated Life Day. Apparently, which is
right. What is Life Day?
It's from the Star Wars Holiday Special.
No, what day is it?
Oh, well, I don't know off the top of my head.
But like Earth Day. I think Earth Day was just the other day.
But apparently they recognize Life Day. They've mentioned it on The Mandalorian and some other. Oh, I think Lego Star Wars. They mentioned Life Day. So the ideas from that Star Wars holiday special that have been so maligned by Lucas for years are kind of creeping in, which I'm happy about. To the extent that I care about this, and and think maybe one day you will get the full Star Wars holiday special on Disney Plus. But in the meantime, you could watch The Curious Wookiee if you want.
Yeah, well, because I think one of the deals was that because it is actually still available on YouTube, so you can watch it on YouTube if you want. But yeah, one of the things I think Carrie Fisher was asked by Lucas to do like commentary on some of the DVD releases of the movies, and she said, "I will only do that if you give me a DVD copy of the Star Wars Holiday Special."
Oh, that's cool.
Did she get one from George?
Yes, yeah, and she played it like she had a Christmas party and she had it playing, and so yeah, that was like her thing that she insisted on, which is amazing.
Oh, that's cool. If I had her cloud, I'd do the same thing because there is no DVD for the rest of us.
No,
It's
exactly.
only like bootlegs.
Yeah, there's a Riff Tracks version with like I don't know if it's just I think it's Mike Nelson and the other guys doing it, and I watched that with my friends. So we watched the YouTube and then we queued up the Riff Tracks, and there's a scene because there's a B. Arthur section of the holiday special, and there's a scene where she pours water into the top of some alien guy's head, and Mike Nelson goes, "It's not every day that you get to see the dumbest thing you've ever seen in your life."
Well, I look forward to seeing the Star Wars Holiday Special. Our friend has a VHS copy of it, like a bootleg.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So I assume we'll be watching that, if not around Christmas or maybe closer to Life Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing that like there's I don't know like obviously I've never created anything to the level of what Star Wars is, so I can't say like what Lucas how he should or shouldn't view these kinds of things, but I feel like he shouldn't take himself that seriously that he's relegating cartoons and not taking holiday specials and things like that. It's like just go with it, just let it happen.
No, I agree. I think not that he needs my advice, considering how much money
he's been waiting for your advice.
He's waiting for my advice. Yeah, I'd say don't take yourself so seriously. But apparently, for every $1 Star Wars has made as a movie franchise, it's made $2 on the merchandising.
Yeah.
So that's why you get like Star Wars toothbrush holders and paper plates, because there's everything Star Wars. It's like more of like a brand than anything else.
Kiss brand.
Yeah, it's like
everything.
Kiss. Yeah.
Yeah, because they were talking about that with Disney, with kind of like with the Marvel stuff and the Star Wars stuff that that they own the rights to. That like even if those movies, like the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, for example, even if they don't do as well as you're expecting, or these Star Wars movies, like I think like the Han Solo movie didn't do as well, that even if they don't do as well, that these other things are such legacies and such established things for generations that they're just going to exist for generations. And it's like there's just the money's just going to always be there. Like you said, from the marketing standpoint, it's like a new kid's going to like Star Wars and tell their mom to go out and get everything that's
Star Wars blankie, Mom.
Exactly.
I'm gonna
Exactly.
You get a Yoda pillow.
Right.
So
Maybe a Tox.
But apparently, every piece of Star Wars merchandise ever is at that Lucas Skywalker Ranch, and it's in this big museum, or which is now like a warehouse. So you can see everything. You can see all the toys, everything that there ever was. Apparently, is there. Now I don't know if they offer tours to the public, but they should.
Yeah, I mean that would be well. There's this show on MeTV with Blair from Facts of Life. I think her name's Lisa Welchel, where she goes to people who have like these big like memorabilia collections.
Yes,
like,
I've heard about this show. Yeah, I've never seen it, but I've definitely heard about it.
Yeah, I would love it if it was Lucas, like it was actually Lucas, like not some fan of Star Wars that had a big collection, but it was actually Lucas, and she went with Lucas, and then like if some fan was gonna, because they do like this trading piece at the end where they trade something, and if like the fan's like, I want to trade you this, and he's like, I don't need that, I have everything, it's like.
But I do want to see that, because that people with big collections are kind of interesting to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was watching one with the monkeys, and it was kind of amazing, like the stuff that they had, and like the one thing that's like the most rare of monkey memorabilia is anything that's been autographed by all four members.
Yeah.
So like if you're a collector of monkey stuff, like even like having something that was like worn by one of the monkeys on stage wasn't as big of a thing as having a piece of like this woman who had like she had like $50,000 worth of monkey memorabilia, but she only had one piece that was autographed by all four of the members. So and of course now that some of them are passed, it's impossible to get new things that are autographed by everybody.
Yeah, well, I guess I'll have to keep my monkey stuff under lock and key now.
Oh,
So, I mean, I have monkey albums, but that's about it. I don't have anything like I don't have any memorabilia.
Right? No. Yeah, it's kind of amazing. I mean, I guess maybe is this a good segue into Dudikoff? I don't know.
Sure, sure.
It's as good as any.
Yeah.
So
you like the monkeys? Dudikoff.
Well, hey, Michael Nesmith is from the Monkees. Now we're talking about Michael Dudikoff.
Yeah,
sure.
Exactly. Well, it was funny because I was thinking one good segue was when you talked about Edgar Allan Poe IV being in the movie. Like Matt Salinger and Edgar Allan Poe IV would be great, right? Because you have Matt Salinger, who's the son of J.D. Salinger. So it's like just have like sons of
literaries
or descendants of But like then Matt Salinger is a great segue because he's like a poor man's Dudikoff. I always thought so.
Interesting. I wonder if there's any other literary people out there. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to think about that.
Yeah. Well, I read something about Scientology recently that I think the great grandson of L. Ron Hubbard is like a director, and he's like been kind of like trying to atone for some of the things that his father did and some of the some of the bad stuff about Scientology. But yeah, so I guess that would be another one. Maybe he could direct it, right?
Yeah.
I guess technically L. Ron Hubbard is a literary. I mean, I don't know.
No, he is. I mean, before Scientology, he wrote books like Pulp Fiction. Like everything is science fiction, westerns, crimes. The fiction of the day, the commercial fiction of the day. So I mean, that definitely counts.
Yeah, so that's another one we could throw in there. Yeah, it's interesting to see. Yeah, I wonder if that's a thing. Like if your mother or father is like a famous writer, if you just have to get into the movie industry as a result.
Yeah, I have to think about that. I feel like there might be one or two others out there, but we'll have to see. So this is the unsung Dudikoff, so not to be confused with the other Dudikoff. So these are not the obvious Dudikoffs. These are the lesser appreciated dudes movies.
Yeah,
the Dude Abides from a few years ago.
2 years, yeah, almost exactly 2 years ago. It was like January of 2021. We did that one. I think it was episode 80. So, so it's been a while since we've done Dudikoff. Dudikoff is one who does tend to get, I don't want to say ignored if that's the right term, but we do lose track of him some compared because he's kind of a big deal in our circles, right? And sort of the direct-to-video action circles. Like you can't talk direct-to-video action without talking about Dudikoff, but he doesn't quite move the needle the way some of the other bigger names like Dolph, Seagal, etc. do.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair.
Like, he has enough of a career that we can do this episode.
Yeah.
So, I mean, do you want to start first? I have 5.
Yeah, I've got 5 as well. So yeah, do you want to go with your
Oh, sure.
number 5?
Okay. Number 5 is Virtual Assassin.
Ah, okay. So I think this was number 2 on my sung list. So yes, so definitely a great addition here. Yeah.
Is it sung? Is it unsung?
Does he sing?
I'm so confused. Yeah. The dude, if he came out with an album, it would be called Michael Dudikoff Just Sings.
Yeah.
Like Jerry Lewis Just Sings.
Or Vinny Linguaro Lambini Sings Just For You with Joe Pesci as the character for My Cousin Vinny.
Yes. Which that's an actual album you can buy if you want. Which, of course, yeah, right. Of course you have it.
I have it.
But a lot of actors have done albums. But we'll have to talk about that another time because maybe that could be another subject.
Yeah,
sure.
Virtual Assassin. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's the mixture of VR and Die Hard.
Right.
Which both were very hot at the time.
VR hard.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah. This is one. So this was the one that kind of got me back into Dudikoff, if that makes sense. So like, in high school, we were big on like the American Ninjas, some of his canon films. And then I kind of fallen off a bit. And then I saw Cyberjack, a.k.a. Virtual Assassin, or either way around, Virtual Assassin, a.k.a. Cyberjack. I saw it on Joe Bob Briggs's Saturday night show, his drive-in show that he had on TNT. And it was like, oh, this is fantastic. And my buddy and I were watching it. We just started watching a whole bunch of Dudikoff after that. And so
that's great. That's fun. So you went to like your local video store, like, give me all Dudikoff you have. Yeah,
we went to the cheap section. We went to like the old section, and it was like the old action or whatever. And it was like
their actual section for it, and you found it.
Yeah, it was
under
like
Cyberjack.
I think it was one, no, because we had already seen it on Joe Bob, so we were looking for other.
Other Dudikoff. So you're looking for, let's say, a Human Shield, which might be
Yeah.
mentioned shortly.
Yeah, exactly. Anything that had a two-word title, we grabbed there, because that was the thing. Joe Bob Briggs did this big joke about how all Dudikoff's movies have two words in the title, and so we were grabbing a bunch of those. And it was like, it was that section of the video store. You know how like a lot of times in most sections, right, the clamshells are facing out, so you can see the covers. This was where they were spine out, and so like kind of all jammed in together, so you can only see the spines, which actually worked out better for us because we were able to see those two-word titles much better.
Which is what other people, including myself, used to say about Seagal's three-word titles.
Right? Yeah.
The three-word title era of Seagal is generally regarded, I think, as his best time.
Then he made Under Siege.
Which he broke with Under Siege, and then it was all downhill from there.
Should have called it Under the Siege.
Yep.
Like, but that's too,
well,
that's
that
too
would be
close to
confused with the Little Mermaid. Yeah.
Right. Under the Siege.
They could have more a better siege pun. Maybe.
Right. Yeah, Under the Siege.
See, that's like Cajun almost. You could
Yeah,
sing.
that's
He
what
could sing
Seagal. Yeah. And Steven Seagal as Flounder. It's like,
well, yeah. They see how come Steven Seagal or like Michael Madsen never did like Disney voices, like I'm a crab. I don't know.
oh no, I'm a crab. Oh, here's the obvious joke for Seagal. He plays Ursula.
Yeah.
It's like
Wow. Yeah, we don't need to get into any physical resemblances
Okay,
right
fine.
now.
Okay, so yeah, Under the Siege. So yeah, so.
But anyway, Virtual Assassin and
Virtual Assassin. Yeah, I have to rewatch this one, but I have it on DVD. I think I found it at Game Exchange. I don't know if you have that in Philadelphia.
I don't think so. I got this on DVD as well, I believe. I think I picked it up, because I needed it. I was like, I got to have this movie. So, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's a good example of 90s action because it has the classic Die Hard scenario mixed with the very hot VR of the day. So, I mean, that you put that with Michael Dudikoff, you pretty much can't lose.
Yeah,
No.
I remember it being pretty entertaining. I just have to kind of check it out again.
But maybe for a deeper dive into it, listeners could go back to the Sung Dudes episode and check that out.
Well, and the Brian James as the baddie is fantastic as well. Where I mean, he's just a great bad guy here.
Yeah,
which
usually is.
Yeah.
I would see him as like a hero. Wouldn't it be great? He's always so evil.
Or Billy Drago. Like, how can Billy Drago
you
never
just
play?
get all the evil people in all hero mode.
Hero mode. Billy Drago is too like greasy or slimy, I think, to be a hero, isn't he? Like,
yeah, slime face.
Whereas Brian James could do it, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. The other thing too about this movie is this kind of is a theme with Dudikoff, kind of the later Dudikoff, like the 90s Dudikoff. So like 80s Dudikoff, he was kind of these canon films as a more traditional hero, but in the 90s there was kind of more of these down on his luck kind of characters that he was playing. In this case he's got gambling debts,
that's a good point actually.
Yeah,
he's kind of becoming a sad sack.
Well, that reminds me a bit of, was it Midnight Ride? I don't know if anyone's going to be talking about that. He's not the traditional hero in that.
Yeah, exactly. So this is another good one in that. I mean, this has so much going for it. It's a ton of fun for people that are looking for a good 90s DTV actioner. Like it kind of hits all the spots you want for one of these.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, and we were spoiled back then because we had, Don the Dragon was doing something similar with Cyber what was
Cyber
it?
Tracker.
Cyber Tracker and Cyber Tracker 2.
And the other one, which was what's the one? He has Rip Taylor. What's that called?
Isn't that Virtual Combat?
Virtual Combat. Thank you. I forgot the title. Yeah, it's Virtual Combat.
So I mean, we were spoiled, and there's other VR related things. Even if it's not what the whole movie's about, there's VR scenes in certain movies. We were very spoiled back then because we had all this great stuff.
We were spoiled in general just because you go to the video store and you just get whatever you want. It's like Don the Dragon or Rock or Dudikoff.
I know.
Like,
I think one of the worst
tired
things.
Of the top, you go to the little bit of the middle or the bottom. Like, all right,
but that was what.
Yeah,
that's what made going to the video store so interesting. I mean, I think one of the worst things that's happened in just in terms of culture is that video stores have gone away. Like that's such a blow to our society. Like if I could do anything, I would bring video stores back because that's just something that was so great. And the fact that they're gone is just such a gut punch to just our society in general.
Yeah.
I'm getting mad now.
No, you know, it's interesting.
It's mad on a pod.
Yeah, it's when my boss was saying about, because he was talking about like how on our company we're upgrading some of our things, and he was saying how they did a Blockbuster was still kind of their thing, and Netflix was just coming out. That they interviewed they did a focus group, and the focus group was like, yeah, I would never do Netflix because I like the experience of going to the video store, and I like doing all of that. And so Blockbuster's like, we don't have anything to worry about from Netflix. We're going to be good. Here's the problem, right, with what Blockbuster's mindset was. Like you were saying, Brett, the video store was a great experience. Blockbuster was not a great experience.
Yes. Yeah.
And that was the problem. The workers didn't care. The place was just kind of like, it was like 30 copies of a new release.
Yes.
It was not a fun experience to go to. And the problem was Blockbuster went in and ran all of the nice mom and pops out of business.
Absolutely.
The mom and pops were where the experience was. And that's what we've lost. Like Blockbuster essentially killed it, and then Netflix came along and took them out because
there was just drove the last nail in. No, I totally agree with that, because Blockbuster had that sort of corporatized, sanitized experience that you're right. It's not the same. I mean,
But
I think people hang on to that
now.
because people hang on to it because I think maybe that's all you had in your area, or you were just trying to hang on to something. But and I mean, there's a lot of corporate maneuverings behind the scenes. From what I remember, at the beginning of Netflix, I think Blockbuster had a chance to buy in, and so they could have been part of it, and they turned it down. So I mean, it's their own fault.
And now Netflix is getting rid of the DVD.
Yeah, so now they're getting rid of DVDs, which we still have. I don't know if we mentioned that, but we get DVDs. And so we got this email, or I got an email. And
you got an email for this?
Yeah, it said like, it's our final season. I was like, okay, we're in seasons now. And it's like this kind of, I don't know if you call it sappy, but
don't
emotionally tinged corporate email saying we've enjoyed serving you over the past 25 years, but we're not doing it anymore. It's like, I don't know. There still might be a chance, because anyone who remembers Quickster knows that they might reverse their decision at the last minute.
I hope so. Yeah, because Quickster. We almost got rid of Netflix because of Quickster. If you remember,
a lot of people did.
Yes. Well, because
Quickster.
I went to streaming only sometime in like the mid 2010s or something like that. I think it was like, because I think it was when I moved here. When I moved down here, I went to streaming only because I hadn't been renting as much and whatever. But I was telling Ty this, that I was actually considering, like, a month or two ago, I was considering going back to the DVD one just because of that. The one problem is right now I don't have a way to rip images from DVDs like I used to in the past. But I was considering it, and then this report came out. I was like, well, I guess no need to do that anymore.
So. No, you should do it. Now's the best time to do it, because
if
people sign up for it, they go, oh, the numbers are surging. Let's keep
reverse our decision.
And then if it only lasts for a couple more months, or I guess it's ending in September supposedly, you'll get a good couple months of DVD rentals. So I think if you ever were going to do it,
maybe
you should do it
the
now.
time.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And I was trying to go with Dudikoff. I mean, like we did our number 5, and then what is your number 5?
So actually, it kind of dovetails well with the video store thing. So I did a tie for my number 5. My tie is the Bounty Hunters movies. Bounty Hunter and then Hardball. And when you think about the video store kind of thing, I mean, these movies are not great.
No, they're not.
But there's something about them for the time. They're like a product of their time. So they actually come out like right after Virtual Assassin. I mean Dudikoff was busy in the mid 90s, so he has a ton of stuff. But the fact that there was a Bounty Hunters itself, right, is just kind of its own thing, where it's like, okay, it's again down on his luck. Dudikoff is a bounty hunter. He's working with the actress. Completely forget her name. Lisa Howard. Yeah, who was a Highlander. And it's kind of like this sort of like screwball romance kind of thing that they've got going on. He's kind of trying to save the day, and there's a whole like, whatever's going on.
It's done in a kind of a fun, kind of goofy kind of way.
Yeah, his character name is Jersey Bellini, which
right.
It would have been kind of more fun if there's like a group of them, like maybe like Dakota Drambuie and I don't know.
That's a great point. Why are not less states can be names now? Jersey, Dakota. There's no Connecticut.
Johnny Knoxville.
Knoxville, Jonathan Knoxville. It's like
well, because in his case, right, you have to also have an Italian drink for the last name, I guess, right? Because it's Bellini, so it's like I don't know, right, like Louisiana Limoncello or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
I feel like Danny Aiello could have played a character named Louisiana Limoncello.
Oh, yes, that's a good point.
I could have played
you know,
that character in Hudson Hawk.
Yes, exactly. We were talking about Aiello the other day because we were watching Mad Men, and it was the point where the Kennedy assassination, and then you have the Jack Ruby shooting.
Yeah.
And remember, Aiello did that Jack Ruby.
Yes.
Yeah, Ruby.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in the DTV world, there's a connection there because what about Rick Aiello? Is he related?
Yes, and it's also I think it's Danny Aiello the third. I think he does stunts.
Yeah, so there's more Aiellos out there, and also he made albums as well.
Yes.
I have
So we have one of them, I think,
I have one of them.
which is impressive. It's more Danny Aiello albums than most people have, but it does both of those things kind of tie back to things we were talking about before. So it's a good dovetail there. But
and Hardball or Dinosaurs 2 Hardball has Tony Curtis.
Yes, which is the most ridiculous thing. I mean, in a way, I probably could have done Hardball as the number 5 because I think it does have a little bit more going for it. It's funny though because it has more going for it, right, than the first one.
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
But yet at the same time, who was watching the first one and saying like, "Man, I really want to know more about the continuing saga of Jersey Bellini"?
That's a question I'm always asking. I mean, we've mentioned this so many times before, like. The Swordsman 2? Who was asking for that? What did people want to know more about Lorenzo Lamas' character from The Swordsman? I mean, right. We're having a lot of fun here today, but I'm not complaining really. I'm actually really grateful and thankful for that because once again, we're talking about being spoiled and going to the video store, and the video stores were booming in such a way that we could actually get a Swordsman 2, which we would never get today. So in a way, it showed the bounty. Speaking of bounty hunters, the bounty of our video stores, that there could be something like a Bounty Hunters 2 or a Swordsman 2 or and there's a bunch of other silly sequels that are out there, but Swordsman 2 really leaps to my mind because it's so random.
It was like somebody looked at the footage they had from Swordsman 1 and they were just like, what if we cut this into another movie? We just get James Hong and like we have somebody wear a mask and do that because like they just take stuff from the old one. Like Lamas didn't shoot anything new for that one.
Yeah.
And someone's just like it was like this idea. It's like almost like I don't know. I'm trying to think of a. It's like when you make a chicken, right? And you're like, what am I gonna do with the rest of this chicken? I'll make soup with it. You know?
I'll make a chicken sandwich. Yeah,
exactly.
Because it's called Gladiator Cop: The Swordsman 2.
Right.
Which is also a very awkward title. And it'd be like on the box, almost in Simpsons fashion. It should have a little starburst that says like 45% new footage.
Right,
like,
exactly.
Like that should be the selling point that they kind of rejiggered it all into a new movie. But why? Did they think there was a demand?
Right.
It's all about demand. Was there a demand for that? And Bounty Hunters 2 and some of the others?
And technically, this is like another movie, right? Remember we watched this, Brett? It has Daniel Bernhardt.
Yes, it's like a third in the Swordsman saga.
Oh, right, the Immortal or something, right? Or G2.
G2, yeah, G2, yeah.
Yeah, G2, yeah. So G2 is Gladiator Cop 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's I think your metaphor for this, that it's chicken salad, I think is the best way to think of it because
you said chicken salad. Hey,
well, I was thinking
you said chicken soup.
Chicken
soup for the Lorenzo Lamas soul.
Which should be a book that should be real.
But because like you think about it, like if you have a restaurant, right, and let's say you have chicken on the menu, and then you've got this leftover chicken that you make chicken salad with. It is like what you said, like who's asking for that, right? Like it's almost like some kind of like restaurateur, like like a reality show where there's like a guy running the restaurant who doesn't really know anything, but he's the one who has the money, so he's telling the chef what to do, and the chef's like, I don't want to do chicken salad. Nobody wants chicken salad at this restaurant. Nobody's going to eat that. They're like, no, we got to do something with this leftover chicken. We got to make this, and it's like somebody doing the same thing. Like we got this leftover Lamas footage from the. We got to make another movie. Like I got James Hong's agent on the phone. Sure, let me call him up. I got a great idea for this. And it's like,
and he does it because I don't think he just likes to work. That's how he got Talons of the Eagle. Like I'm making an action movie in Canada called Talons of the Eagle. It's like,
I mean James Hong is very prolific. He does like to work, but that's the thing about actors. Like when you're an actor, you don't know if you're going to have another job coming up.
Right.
That's why you should line up all these straight to videos.
Yeah, if you can do it and keep working, you do it. If I was an actor, that's what I would do.
I would go to straight to video right away.
You'd run straight to. If they offered you a theater movie, you'd say no.
I'd say pass. I'm going right to Redbox.
Well, I mean, but it depends what the material was. Like if you got offered a movie that was going to the theater, but it was like a romantic comedy with Meg Ryan, or
Oh, right.
You got offered a
mail.
direct-to-video movie with, I don't know, James Hong and
Billy
Scott
Blanks in
Eastwood.
return. Yes. Scott
Wh-
Eastwood.
Which one
yeah.
would you take?
I
And then
don't know because, and they're both shooting at the same time, so you have to make a
Yeah, and you can only
decision.
pick one. Yeah.
So Love.com 2 or
Yeah.
like I can't think of a Scott Eastwood movie.
Called like, I don't know, the Dusty
The
Trail
Dusty Trail.
Man.
Yeah, the Dusty
I don't
Trailman. Yeah, okay. The Dusty Trailman. Yeah, so it's like that'd be like some kind of garbagey western.
Yeah, yeah.
Or a Meg Ryan, or I mean, how about Margot Robbie? Meg Ryan's kind of getting old.
Well,
So
I
you're
don't
like
know. I'm just trying to think of someone who always did plain vanilla stuff.
Meg Ryan. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Meg
to me,
Ryan.
Meg Ryan kind of represents that just because I don't think she ever did any horror. She didn't do any action. She didn't
That's
do
a
any
good
B.
point. Did
She just
nothing.
stuck with that sort of middle of the road stuff. I mean, I could be
don't know.
wrong.
think
Maybe she was in a
pick-
horror movie.
I'd pick
but-
the Dusty Trailman. You know.
Yes, I
like-
know you would because that's my whole
To
point.
tell you the truth, maybe Love.com 2, but it would be the romantic comedy version, or Must Love Dogs 2.
Yeah, but you'd be in the theater and it might be better for your career.
Yeah,
But-
that's true.
Well,
Yeah,
you
they
know,
were made Must Love Dogs 2. Or
Must Love
Serendipity,
Cats.
Must Love Cats. And people love cats. Must Love Cat videos.
Well, no, it would be yeah, because now we're talking
Yeah.
about the internet. But it would be
Yeah.
called Must Love Dogs 2, Must Love Cats. That would be the
Perfect.
title. Because
You
it,
must love dogs, or you cannot date Diane Lane. You can't.
yeah,
It's like,
you can't.
you just can't.
Hater.
Sorry, John Cusack. I somehow did it, but he might like dogs then.
With so many
Like-
demands, you must love them. Oh,
You
I mean,
must. You must.
You must.
Yeah.
What if
'cause-
you're not a dog
well,
person?
Well, because it has to do with like the personal ads, which we don't do anymore. But right, you
No.
have to have you can only have so many words in there. So like or so many letters, right? So must love dogs is easier than should love dogs, or would prefer that you love.
Right. Well, single white
Prefer
female.
if you like dogs, kind of. That'd be nice.
Single white female. SWF.
Right, exactly.
Well,
yeah, you gotta, yeah. I remember there was one joke. One was there was this anti-marriage equality group that they called themselves 2M for M, and it was supposed to be 2 million for marriage. That's what they were calling themselves. They didn't realize that 2M for M was like a personal ad thing where two guys were looking for a third guy to join their like a
Brilliant.
menage a trois. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you never know. That's the other thing too, I guess now, is that there's like a whole world of acronyms out there that we grew up knowing, like SWF, whatever.
Well, I only know FBI, which is female body inspectors.
Yeah.
So that's like,
I'm sorry, guys. I have to correct you. It's not an acronym. It's an initialism.
Initially,
Thank you. An
Well, we
acronym
should
is
go
when
back
it
to-
spells out a word.
oh,
Right.
we gotta go back to Dudikoff. We gotta,
I want to talk more about initialisms.
okay, let's do
I'm
that.
just kidding. Let's move on to
the
Dudikoff.
podcast.
Yeah, I was gonna say
CIA, FBI.
And you see this in a lot of TV shows and movies. Like, well, and then we got all the government alphabet soup on our backs.
Alphabet soup.
right.
Yeah, you hear that all the time. I think Lenny said it on Law and Order. A lot of people say it. I got
Yeah.
all alphabet soup.
Yeah. Well, yeah, especially like in those procedures, or like the PM, those like the grittier cop ones, as opposed to the all out actioners, right? You'd get that kind of those terminologies. Yeah, like
Yeah. But there's always one guy, usually the hero, who's disgruntled about it all. He doesn't like the alphabet soup.
because there was always like a smarmy.
my jurisdiction. I want the SSA on my jurisdiction. It's just
Yeah, they fight on their jurisdiction. Well, this is our case.
this is the FFA's case. Thank you. It's just like
Well, because the other thing too is a lot of times that smarmy government guy was also in on it with the baddies, right? So it's
I
like
love that,
the DEA guy comes in and it's played by like Michael Norrie or somebody
Right,
like that.
right. Exactly,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely perfect casting there.
Yeah, no, that's a great example. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you get the classic speech. You couldn't leave well enough alone, could you?
Mhm.
And
Just-
then
I thought you were just an FFA agent. No, I wasn't. I was part of this drug deal and part of this
Right.
drug.
you
kingdom.
couldn't just leave it alone.
Yeah,
You
because
just
that
kept
was
digging. You just had to keep digging. Okay.
that was the thing with these cops on the edge, right? Was that yes, they were cops on the edge, but there was also that thing where they were like the cat that like smells something that could be food related, and they just got to get that food,
Yes.
whatever. Like
Well,
that's
they're in
what
a quest for justice.
Exactly, yeah. So
I don't
they
know
were
if it's the title, we
shovelers
can make
and
that.
cops on the edge.
And cops on the edge. Yeah.
Right.
Question. All right. So wait, number 4.
Yeah. So boy, this might be a
We're on
long
number 4.
podcast if we don't stay
Okay,
on
we'll
track.
try to stay on track. Okay, number 4, I have the Human Shield from 1991.
Okay.
If you remember that one, Brett.
Not really, but it said
But I'm gonna-
1991 was a great year for
Well-
action and video
Well,
stores.
I'm going to read some of it from our review. So it's perfect for video stores because before the movie starts, there's an anti-drug PSA. So it's like, You you can't avoid those.
Is
So-
that the one with? Does Michael Dudikoff like? Is he?
Are you
in
talking
it,
about
or-
Action Adventure Theater, which is he
Oh.
does those? I'll mention that. I can mention
Okay,
that
mention
now,
that at
I
the
guess.
end. Maybe it's
Sure,
like
sure,
a
okay.
like
Like
a
an
what do you
addendum,
call
I
it?
guess.
Yeah.
But we said the Human Shield was perfect for the stars in 1991 because it starts with Dudikoff riding an open-top Jeep in the desert with his awesome hair blowing freely in the breeze. So
Well,
You
and it's a great opening. And then 1991, you could listen to your hard rock on the radio, which was still big, and watch your action movies, and it was just a great time.
So this is a good one. If you enjoyed, Chain of Command, something like that, I'm gonna take out the Human Shield of Mike
Yeah.
Dudikoff.
Yeah,
And it's,
good old Mike.
Mike. That's my choice.
This is one too that we've each reviewed, and then also Mitch has reviewed as well. So this is sort of like a complete the triangle kind of film where all three of us, Mitch at the Video Vacuum did. So it's one that we've all kind of looked at. We've all kind of had our go through. I think you're right. Like it's a fun one. It's an interesting one because it's got Gulf War kind of stuff in it.
Yeah,
So it's like
the Gulf War was hot, Schwarzkopf.
yeah,
That's like
it was. That's right. That was a
that
Schwarzkopf
Desert
time.
Storm, actually.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I forgot about the Schwarzkopf. Like
How dare you? Never forget.
I want his trading card. If you have
What, Storm
it.
and Norman?
Yeah, I want Storm and Norman. Like I've been waiting to get Storm and Norman. It's
Yeah.
like
I have some Desert Storm cards.
I could. Well, if I. Oh, okay. Do you have Storm and Norman or Saddam?
I don't think I don't remember. It was a very long time ago. I'd have to look. I don't think I do though.
Oh, all right. If you have those, if you somehow find Storm and Norman or Saddam, those are the ones I want.
Well, everyone
Yeah.
wants Saddam. Yeah, I think there might be more than one Saddam in that.
Oh,
set.
remember the other deck of cards?
What? Oh, the playing cards with all the
Playing
Playing
cards. Oh, yes,
from the
yes, the Axis of Evil.
2003 War on Terrors.
yes, the Axis of Evil playing cards. I think.
Oh, yeah.
Was that what it was? Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I can trade you an Uday for a Kusei. if you
Yeah,
want.
Chemical Ali for a Bin
yeah,
Laden.
yeah, Chemical Ali. He was in the playing cards.
Yes,
I'm gonna have to look for those.
I
But
think
also
we
don't
looked
wanna-
them up on eBay once.
Oh,
There's people
there,
selling
right?
them. Yeah, it's there. You can. Yeah.
this
you
isn't
can
like
get
a
'em.
dark web kind of thing.
No.
I don't know how to go on the dark web, and I don't want to.
It's darkweb.com.
Trust me, I tried. I looked up dark web on Google, and it didn't bring me there, so I gave up.
Right. Yes, you were.
So how does everyone else find it? I mean,
I think there must be like I don't know.
There's a program. I think there's a program, you have
program,
to
yeah.
install that gives
Oh,
you
dark
access
web
to the dark
installation.
web.
Oh, it's a floppy disk.
I know it's if you put the floppy disk in it, it's like dark web. Yeah, because it's. I saw a documentary on Hulu about it that was actually narrated by Keanu Reeves.
Oh,
and
yeah, like Keanu Reeves. Ty, what Ty?
whoa.
Where are you?
Oh,
Yeah. Well, I was just watching John Wick 2, and it's like, and you remember you've seen that.
yeah.
John
Oh
Wick
yeah,
2?
yeah.
Yeah. So when the bad guy's name was Santino asked him to do this job, and then Keanu says, "Not interested." It's like I'm not interested. So he talks in this weird tone.
Well, we all
And
love
it's
the way John Wick / Keanu talks.
Yeah,
Yes,
I love
yeah.
it. So he has two ways. Like he has the dude version, like whoa, and like not interested. So it's like,
Well, I know I've just said this a couple of times in the past couple of days, but I guess
go ahead.
it's maybe common knowledge that in John Wick 4 he only says 380 words.
Oh
And-
wow.
and a lot of it.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and if you take out repeated words like yeah, then it's probably down to like 200. But
Yeah, because how many
Yeah,
did
a
you have
ton
in
of
the
dialogue
first
in
one?
this one, basically. Like, why am I doing this job? And it's like, so it's like-
yeah, they really cut back on the dialogue. I mean, I don't know who's counting words, but apparently that's a small amount of words, and so I guess that's notable.
well, we'll see how. We'll have to look up how many words Kurt Russell said in Soldier. See
Oh,
if,
I think it's like 5.
yeah,
yeah.
five. Like, I'm gonna kill them all, sir. And the
I've never
sir
seen
something
Soldier,
to
by
is
the way.
Connie Nielsen, so it's not even a man. It's like,
Well, that's
sir.
funny.
It's like,
But,
yeah,
but so what's the thing called that's narrated by Keanu?
oh, Dark Web, right?
It's just called Dark Web.
I think so. It's something like that. Yeah, I have to look it up. It's on Hulu. Maybe it's still on Hulu. I don't know.
Are you on the Dark Web? Yeah.
yeah.
Well, because like he was like just like talking about like different, because I guess like one of the things about the dark web that I never realized, but I guess it's like used by journalists because they can put stuff there and people can't find it in like get a hold of like what their sources are and things like that. So that part of it helps. So if I type in dark web, what I get?
Be careful.
Be careful.
We had to
Dark
go back
Web
to our list
Exposed,
here.
I think
They're
that's
gonna
what it
shut this
was.
off.
Yeah,
Dark Web Exposed.
Oh no, Silk Road. It was the Silk Road one, I think.
Oh,
that
I've heard
might
of
have
that.
been.
Okay, I've heard of that because I look up Keanu all the time anyway. So I think that popped up in my searches.
Yeah, I think that's what. I mean, there's another one called Dark Web Exposed that could be it, but I don't know. Oh no, they're both saying watch with live TV, which that doesn't make sense because
we have to waste the money. Don't do that.
yeah, because I don't have live TV, so I was watching them without live TV. So I mean maybe they got relegated to live TV or something. I don't know. But yeah,
We'll have to go. Yeah, I'll have to look into that one. See, I always like hearing its voice anyway. So, but we have to go to number 4 for you. I did what Human Shield.
Yes. So my number 4, I went back to I kind of did another of my one from my sung list, Radioactive Dreams, and I think it kind of belongs on an unsung list too, as far as I can tell, just because it's a very unique kind of Dudikoff. It's directed by Albert Pyun, which I enjoyed that as well. Like he's it's like kind of a fun movie from 1984. It's noirish. It's about two guys who grow up in a bunker reading detective novels, and then they emerge in the future with this where the world is like kind of a mess. It's kind of a post-apocalyptic kind of thing, and they're there with these this sort of like Philip Marlowe kind of approach to the world. So it's kind of it's a fun one, but also Dudikoff is this is I guess 84. I think that's pre.
It's early Dudikoff.
Yeah,
right.
I've never seen this movie.
I've never seen it either.
I can't comment.
I haven't seen that one.
It's right before American Ninja. And I always thought it was a canon film, but I don't think it is actually. I don't know. I'll have to check to see what it says here, but I think I'd always had it as a canon film and realized it wasn't sometime at some point in my life. It's it was in the theater but didn't gross a lot. I mean, it was for Albert Pyun, I think this was like maybe one of his second or third films. I don't remember after he did Sword and the Sorcerer. So it just kind of works. It just kind of works in that sense, but it's not one that people think of when they think Dudikoff, because it isn't. It's not your standard like Dudikoff, like Bounty Hunters, or Human Shield or something like that. Or it's kind of more the Dudikoff that we expect from the 90s.
Interesting. Well, I'm one to look for. I mean, like I said, never seen it, but if you're saying an Albert Pyun movie works, that's not something you hear every day.
Right. I say it works for me. That's probably another good point. Is that more of Pyun's movies worked for me than they did for. But this one, I don't know. Yeah, it just kind of worked. It was his second movie after Sword and the Sorcerer. So he kind of just came with this, and I think it may have been the one that kind of like, I don't want to say like, dropped him, because Sword and the Sorcerer was huge, right? I mean, for its time, it did really well. And I think Radioactive Dreams might have been just too far out there for audiences. It did like maybe a couple $100,000 in the theater at that time.
All right. Well,
my number 3 is Strategic Command from 1997.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, is that? Oh, did you have that too?
No, I didn't. So
okay.
I hadn't considered it. So I'm curious. I'll have to take a look. Is that not Crash Dive? I'm thinking of Crash Dive. That's not
Crash Dive. I know. Yeah, Crash Dive's different. Crash Dive's
that's a
submarine slug, and this is a plane slug.
With Norton.
Yeah, Richard Norton and Bryan Cranston in his best performance as Phil Hertzberg.
Right. Well, who could forget Phil Hertzberg? Yeah.
Yeah. He's just like a kind of an annoying airline passenger, but he still brings it. Just like he did on Viper.
Yeah.
So if people remember this one,
Executive Decision was very hot at the time. So I guess the
Strategic Command.
So DTV had to have their answer. I mean, this could have been first for all I know, but probably wasn't. Probably not. But anyway, it's basically like a plane hijack situation.
Yeah, and then Richard Norton plays Carlos Gruber.
Interesting.
And he has he takes a plane hostage. People remember this one, and then he has like this bioterrorism kind of stuff, and it's called Bromax. Right. Remember Bromax, Brett?
Now that you say it, I do remember Bromax, but I didn't remember like Bromax before you said Bromax.
Yeah. The bromance is going to kill everyone. We have to get the bromance. That's what it sounds like.
That's exactly what it sounds like they're saying. Yeah, because that's like what we're used to hearing.
Yeah, okay, bro.
Well, there is a strong bromance now between Carlos Gruber and Dudikoff.
Okay.
And maybe it's like a triangle. It's like that M2M thing with Bryan Cranston.
So it's Bryan Cranston, Dudikoff, and Gruber, or Richard Norton.
That's the subtext. Yeah.
Well, not only does it have Norton and that crew, but it's got it's got Paul Winfield. It's got Tim Abel, which we know from a lot of
Larry Poindexter.
Reuniting from American Ninja 2. Marcus Aurelius, Michael Cavanaugh plays the vice president, which I think, does this movie use the term he's the second most powerful man in the world when they describe the vice president, which doesn't make any sense, but they use it in a lot of these action movies.
Yeah, they kind of do. It's
Yeah.
It sounds familiar.
The VP's always under attack. It's like
Mhm.
it's never the actual prez usually.
Well, sometimes it is. If Michael Madsen wants the money,
first I get the money, then I get the prez. For the executive target, he has to steal Roy Scheider. It's like
he steals Roy Scheider. He just steals him.
Fine, kidnaps him.
Well, no, Roy Scheider, not the president or the character,
Not the
but
president.
Roy Scheider. Yes.
I think, and now that we called Chain of Command, Roy Scheider plays the president. And his name is just like the president.
I'm getting confused. So there's Chain of Command, executive decision, executive target. I'm starting to lose the plot here.
Well, the thing with the Roy Scheider thing is that he played the president in Executive Target and Chain of Command and the Peacekeeper of Dolph Lundgren. So he loves playing the president.
Yeah.
So it's like,
well,
it's probably a cool role. It's like, hey, I get to play the president, and it's Roy Scheider. He's got it.
Well, I'm sure that's what Ernie Hudson thought when he played the president.
Which one was that? The Last Siege?
I think so.
Or was it that Jeffrey Fahey movie?
Yes, Jeffrey. Yeah,
Jeffrey Fahey.
Are we supposed to do a Fahey podcast? I think
it's in the works.
We're thinking Fahey. Yeah. I mean,
thinking Fahey. Maybe that could be the title because I was thinking of Yehi for Fahey. It's like,
we'll come up with a wacky title later. Yeah.
That's what I have.
So it's a plain slog. That's like a DTV version of
There's something there. I'm gonna rewatch it. I think because I just got a copy. I got rid of it as in a tape purge, and then I got it from Time Tunnel Bread, if you remember.
I do remember.
And
yes.
There's like, it's not that good, but then I got it back. So,
yeah, but now with Bryan Cranston, and everything. That was before Cranston. That was before Breaking Bad. So you had no reason.
And we mentioned it in the review because that was on at the time.
Yeah, and this is one that everybody has reviewed. It's kind of funny. When you go to the critic reviews, we've done it. Mitch, Bulletproof has done it. Tom Joliffe at Flickering Myth has done it. Robot Geek did it.
Everyone.
Simon Explosive Action did it.
Well, I think it's readily available. I think it's like an easy movie to see.
Yeah, it was. You can get that anytime.
Yeah, and it's kind of one of the, I think this kind of goes back to who Dudikoff is in the kind of the DTV action world. That his movies are kind of they're staples in a way that like you just kind of want to get out there and watch. Like you see Dudikoff on the cover.
That's a good point.
You see that hair, and then you just want to rent the movie.
Yeah, it's like that guy's awesome hair, and because he has talent, so you kind of care about what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's not like a meathead or something. So
I think that's a good point because we were bombarded with a lot of meatheads at that time, and he sets himself apart from the meathead brigade. I don't think you could call him a meathead. He's
just a cool dude.
Yeah, he's a cool dude. So that's a point of difference between him and the Evan Lurie's and the of the world is that he's not meaty.
Well, let's see. What about your number 3, Matt?
So my number 3, this was an honorable mention on my sung list. Rescue Me.
That's Stephen Dorff.
Stephen Dorff.
I've never seen that, but
I've never seen it either.
It's a kind of a romp. It's kind of a coming of age romp where Dudikoff is the older guy. And one of the fascinating things about this movie for me now, right, is of course when I watched the movie, I was closer to Stephen Dorff's age, right? So, now I'm closer to Michael Dudikoff's age in the film. I might have be his age when he made the movie. Actually, now that you mentioned it, and it's interesting to kind of more associate myself with his character than with Dorff's character, but it also just gets back to this range that Dudikoff had, that he could do some of these different kinds of movies. And so, he could do a coming of age romp that, the movie came out in 92. It's a little bit late for 92. I mean, it feels like something from like the late 80s.
I thought it was from 89 or something. It's from 92.
Exactly. Yeah, it has that feel, right? It has the feel of like a Feldman or Haim coming of age flick.
Somehow it got to Dudikoff's desk.
Yeah, which you wonder, because it was, it's 92 and it's a canon film from 92. So you wonder if it was something that was sitting around for a while and, they were trying to find someone to give it to. And finally they were just like, all right, you and the Stephen Dorff guy do it. And that'll be enough for us.
I want to see if Stephen Dorff plays golf. So then it's the real Dorff on golf. So it's like,
Well, yeah, that could be something.
That could be something. Okay. What did he do? Blue emu? No, e-cigarettes.
E-cigarettes, yes, yeah. My favorite was when he's like walking on the beach with his collar.
Yes.
And he's like, we're all adults here, and I was like, I love that
The
line.
Chantix? I forgot.
Yeah.
No, well, no, it was blue e-cigarettes.
Blue e-cigarettes.
e-cigarettes,
Yeah,
right?
and it's
Yeah.
black and white, right? It's
Oh, yeah, it was very moody and
It was, yeah.
adult.
Oh, he was so because it was like almost at that time, right? He'd gotten into so much trouble with so many things. It was like, what company would touch him for an endorsement? But like e-cigarettes, it was like perfect to have Dorf, you know.
Wait, Dorf's in trouble?
Did you just say endorsement?
Yeah, he's endorsement.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, it's an endorsement.
Endorsement. I might have actually. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's an endorsement.
Endorsement.
Wait, the Dorfster got in trouble?
Yeah, didn't he? He was kind of in and out of rehab, and I thought he was like, he was getting arrested for things. I think he was.
Yeah, go ahead. No, I think he almost beat up Jeremy Piven.
Yeah, right. And he beat up. I think he beat up Paparazzi as well. That was Paparazzo.
Okay. Might as well.
Paparazzi.
Actually, I don't really fault him on that.
Yeah.
For any of that. But,
No, he can beat up Jeremy Piven anytime.
no, Dorf is cool because you know. Remember, there's that story where his agent told him not to be in that John Waters movie, and they want him to be in some other thing. He's like, no, I want to work with John Waters, and like he kind of
was it Cecil B. Demented?
I think it was, and apparently his agent and people behind him didn't want him to do it, but he wanted to work with John Waters, and so he did his own thing, and I like that because you know he's not playing by the rules. And then later on, he was on that season of True Detective, so it all worked out.
Yeah,
and he's on that show called what's it called, like Texan? I'm forgetting the title. Like Lawman. Remember from a couple years ago, Matt? It was on Fox.
Oh,
the title escapes me right now. I'll look it up. But
I know what you're talking about, though. Yeah, Deputy. Was that it?
Thank you, Deputy. Yeah, he plays the deputy. He plays by his own rules.
Yeah. Well, he's also in Paradise City, which we've been meaning to get to, which is probably going to be on a future once it's finally available to stream. You know, once it finally
Willis,
gets there.
John Travolta, and Dorf.
Dorf.
Wow.
Yeah. So a great crew. Also Branscombe Richmond, which I mean.
Oh wow. Bobby Sixkiller.
Bobby Sixkiller.
From Renegade.
Yeah.
Well, no, I know.
It looks like also Ava, our favorite from these EFO films. She's in it as well. But
Let me some Ava.
It's funny, like, because most people are like Bruce Willis, John Travolta, and then Steven Dorff. We're like Branscombe Richmond, you know? Like,
You've come to the right place.
And Ava, you're like, oh, Ava's back.
Ava, right? Exactly, Ava's back. Yeah.
All right, so where are we on the list here?
So I think you're on your number 2.
I am? Okay, then the number 2 is Chain of Command, which might have mentioned on regular Dudikoff. But
Nice. Okay.
that's I really like this one because he's shooting everyone. Arlie Ermey's getting mad. He's like, do you remember this one, Brett? Or not? We watched it a long time ago.
I mean, if we liked it, I mean, that
from 1994. He plays Merrill Ross, Dudikoff. He's next Green Beret with an attitude. And he's just he works for like the oil company run by Arlie Ermey.
And what happens?
Then I guess Arlie Ermey's evil, and then there's like a bunch of goons he shoots at. But it's fine. It's a quality Dudikoff movie. People don't really remember. Because it didn't go to the theater once it's right to video. It's like,
well, that's unusual here.
And then there's these great songs by the Canadian band Slash Puppet. When the whip comes down and ripping on a wishbone, which I always try to do when I eat my steaks, and it's just like,
good choice.
So thank you. Well, it's a good number 2 choice because I think you can kind of guess what number 1 is.
Yeah, I don't know if you can. I think you have somewhat of a curveball from what you told me.
I do, yes. But that's my 2 slot.
I'm actually. I think I'm doing the spoiler for your because I didn't realize it was your number 1, but my number 2 is probably your number 1.
Oh, okay.
My number 2 is the Cobra series.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's number 1.
That's your number 1. So it's funny because earlier today I'd mentioned because Ty had hinted that he was going to maybe have Cobra on his list, and I was thinking about it myself, and then when it was kind of one of those things where it's like, okay, let's just do it. And I mentioned it. I was like, yeah, I'm going to have Viper on my list. And he's like, you mean Cobra? And I was like, oh, yeah, you're right. Oh, yeah. I was like confusing my.
Yeah, including your car movies. I think
Cobra, Viper, Stingray.
Yeah, I like that. It's but Cobra is a great. Well, you haven't watched it yet, bro, have you?
No, I've still not seen it, but I do
No.
know his name is Robert Scandal Jackson.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Oh, that's the thing. Yeah, thanks for saying that his name, because it's like it might be a scandal what number one might be. So it's like,
But apparently that's what he was called as a kid, because isn't there that scene where his mom says, I mean, there's a flashback to him as a tot, and his mom says, "Hey, Scandal."
Like, Scandal, kind of come in the house for your dinner. Like, okay, mom. And it's just like, okay,
Like,
Scandal.
so he was always called Robert Scandal Jackson.
How? Why?
Yeah. The other thing, of course, is that you had James Tolkien in this, and of all the kind of the co-stars that we've been talking about, and all of these, these films we're watching here, Tolkien. I mean, of course, I just think of him as the, from Top Gun, talking about, like flying rubber dog shit out of Hong Kong, and stuff like that.
And Masters of the Universe.
Masters of the Universe.
With dolls.
He's like a character that just like is something, like he adds a certain element. I think the problem was at that time was that it was a very saturated market. I mean, of course, Renegade was big at that time. Highlander, the series, was big at that time. And I think it's unfortunately for Cobra, I think it only lasted like one season or 22 episodes.
I'll take what I can get, but it should still be on now. That's like,
yeah.
Well, but the world of syndicated TV was pretty booming at that time. So it had to find its place in the world. And at least it's on DVD.
Yes, it did. I think I got it for a pretty good deal. I think now it's a little pricey.
Yeah.
But buy it anyway.
Yeah, it's worth checking. I mean, for people that were from, I mean, because I think, what was it? Andrew X Babcock on Instagram. He collects a lot of these TV series from that time.
He watches Cobra all the time.
Yeah, he rewatched Renegade, right?
Yeah, he rewatched Renegade. I think he's still watching it. It's like, well, because it's 219 episodes of Renegade,
right?
Like or it's 100 episodes, I think.
Yeah, because Renegade and Highlander, I think. So it was Renegade, Highlander, and then of course Hercules and Xena. Like those ones were kind of the gold standard at that time. Yeah, and of course Star Trek: The Next Generation technically counts as one too, because it was
Relic
syndicated.
Hunter.
Relic Hunter, that one, yeah. But Relic Hunter, I don't think lasted as long. I think that one
had 3 great seasons, but
yeah, exactly, yeah. But it was like this huge thing where it was like, we've got to keep pumping out these. I mean, there's Time Tracks. There was, I mean,
FX the series,
FX the series,
the Fred Dryer. What was the Fred Dryer one?
Oh, Land's End.
Land's End, yeah.
And what's that one of Rick Springfield?
Oh, somebody mentioned that one the other day. Oh, what was that one?
High Tide.
High Tide, yes.
And there's the one that's just a number. What's it called? Like 12 or 13?
12. And then there's the Net, the series. There's, of course, 18 Wheels of Justice.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Which I think maybe it wasn't 18 Wheels of Justice. Maybe it was another one that Daniels was on an episode of. Gary Dan. I don't.
I have to look that up.
It wasn't 18 Wheels of Justice. It was another one. I'll have to take a look at what.
Well, Martial Law had Mark DeCosco, some good people in the guest stars. Olivia Gruner was really good in Martial Law.
Yeah, because that's the thing with these syndicated shows. A lot of them were based around action, so it's very relevant to what we're talking about.
Yeah, that's what it was. Is they had a feel. The syndicated ones in particular, they had the feel of 90s DTV on a weekly basis. Weekly 45-minute basis.
Excellent point.
Yeah, that's true. It's like without even having to go to the video store, you could get a very similar tone.
You can watch it like 3 p.m. on a Sunday.
It's raining. It's
raining.
You break out your Cheez-Its, and I guess you just start eating them.
I might have the thing with the gelatinous cheese, the gelatinous cheese with the
a handy
snack. I might have a handy snack, not a cheese.
Yeah.
Or maybe
you're younger than me,
Oh, right.
You would have that and probably.
What would you? You would have a Cheez-It?
Well, possibly, yes.
Yeah,
I like Cheez-Its.
I was a big Cheez-Its fan. But I think too, like those snack pack thing or those snack things you're talking about, where you have like the spread on the crackers.
Yeah.
One of the things with those is my parents would get those. The idea being that they would go on our school lunches, but I would just always eat them before. There was that, and I don't know if you remember, Slim Jims would come in these small 5-packs or something like that, where you could buy a box of like, I think like 5, like they were like mini Slim Jims. And the idea was that it was supposed to like get those again for the same idea, and I would just wolf them down like just before, like it just
they don't last that long. Yeah,
no,
I mean, because that was the kind of the golden time for Slim Jims. You had the Macho Man Randy Savage commercials. Slim Jims were very hot in the 90s. I mean, I probably wouldn't go near one today.
Back then.
Yeah. Well, then Mountain Dew was a good example of that too.
Yeah,
Slam-a-do.
Yeah, because there was a whole world. It's funny. I sometimes get back into this world every so often, where it's like I'll go to 7-Eleven and I start to see all the junk food there, and I start to kind of just have this like feeling of like that being at that time where it was like, especially when you weren't old enough to drink, or do smoke or do any of those really bad things, but like junk food was an illicit thing that like if you had an allowance or you got some money for a birthday or something from a relative and it was burning a hole in your pocket, you could just go to 7-Eleven or a place like that and just load up on a whole bunch of crap.
Load
Yeah.
on snackies, and then
Well,
you can
yeah, I
watch,
think-
Cobra.
Then you watch your syndicated TV or your DTV movies, and you're in hog heaven.
And then
Yeah.
you just have to stop time.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, we can't do that. We can't go back to video stores as we were talking about, and yeah, I mean, just getting a Snapple was a big deal back then. I remember Snapple. I really want a Snapple, and like having to walk to the convenience store and get a Snapple.
Well, Tom's
that was
Market.
Well, yeah, it was called Tom's Market, but at that time, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna buy a Snapple. I mean, it seems insane now, but at the time, when Snapple itself was relatively new, and that was a big treat.
Yeah.
You had to get a Snapple.
What was that other drink that was popular? Like Soba? What's it called?
Sobe?
Sobe had those
with
little dots on the bottom.
Little dots. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that still
Yeah.
around, Sobe?
I think it is. Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
great.
actually-
Kind of like. Oh,
Well,
because
now
it's like
I'm not so sure.
Vanetta, which is that ice cream cake that sounds fancy in the commercial.
right.
It's still
Oh,
around.
you were trying to look up the name, and now you know it's Vanetta.
Yeah, it's called Vanetta.
Oh, okay.
So it had like kind of crunchy. You'd slice
Crunchies,
it. Right?
yeah,
It was like a roll of some sort.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah, it's
roll.
like
It's like a
roll of
log.
ice cream. Yeah,
A fancy log, not just a
it's a
regular
fancy log of ice cream, and it's like, ooh, Vanetta.
I'm trying to think if I've ever had Vanetta. There's a chance I've never had Vanetta.
If I find it,
Oh, no,
I will buy it.
When I saw the commercial, I made my mom get it one of the times.
Yeah.
I was like, we gotta have, like, I want this.
Like, Mom, you have
Mom,
to
can I get
sit her down and have a serious discussion. Like, Mom, I need
Oh,
you
no.
to do something for me.
It was one of those things where we're at the grocery store and I
Do you have
saw
any
it.
Grey Poupon? So we have any Vanilla?
Well,
Some Grey
fancy
Poupon?
food was kind of a thing for a while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great point. It's like we just wanted to be fancy for like a day.
Yeah, get your Grey Poupon and your Vanetta. I mean, not together, obviously, but
Oh,
No, but you're right, because like nowadays they don't sell that same way. Like they do it every once in a while.
Great
Like
point.
you have like the woman indulging in chocolate, and it's like
Yeah.
this kind of like nice place, and she's kind of slightly dressed up, but she's not, and she's kind of it's like this thing where it's like this big like indulgent act that she's having a piece of Dove chocolate or something.
yes.
But when we were in the 90s, it was all about this fancier food that you could that wasn't that fancy, but they sold it as fancy that people who weren't fancy could get. Like
Yes, the
yeah.
rest of us, you don't have to be
Yeah,
rich.
the rest of
You
these
can afford
plebes
it.
that we
You-
are.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, for the plebes, you can get your Vanetta and your Grey Poupon, sure. And also, they had like a fancy jelly.
Yes.
what was that?
It wasn't Smuckers. It was
Oh, Smuckers.
the
Yeah.
Smuckers. That's for suckers.
It wasn't
This is
Smuckers
for
Plan or All
suckers?
Fruit, was it?
Oh yes,
Planters
Planters all fruit. Yep,
Yes.
that's what I'm thinking of. Wow, good call.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'm not doing Smuckers. This is Planter all fruit. This is
Yeah, okay.
This is like a cut above.
Yeah, it's kind of above from the usual Smuckers. Okay.
Yeah. 'Cause-
Okay, but it may-
Try
I
as
like
Willard
Smuckers.
Scott might.
Yeah. Willard Scott loves Smuckers. He's freaking, he's in the Smuckers lobby, lobbyist group.
I found it. So I had an aunt who turned 100. It was so technically it was my grandfather's aunt, but because it was my grandfather's cousin whose mom it was. He was saying that like she was featured on the Today Show with Willard Scott.
Oh wow.
But then also she got like a whole bunch of like Smuckers like sent to her. Which
Oh wow.
like
So
Lifetime
they don't just
supply of
sponsor this. They don't just sponsor the segment. They actually send you the.
they send you the right.
Wow.
And so I mean I think she lived to 104 and
Wow, that's great.
And so, I mean, I met her. I was down in Florida. I remember, so I did meet her at one point. And my uncle, I guess I call him my uncle, but he was really my grandfather's cousin. So I don't even know.
Yeah, it's one of those weird family things.
Yeah. So uncle works best, but he was telling me about it. It was kind of one of those things like, people that were born in the 20s, it's kind of funny watching Mad Men and like seeing them because like, having those interactions with them about how things like, oh yeah, you should have seen, like everything's like the greatest thing ever when they talk about it. It's like all this like, yeah, she got a whole case of Smuckers and all this stuff. And, and it's just like, yeah, that's great. You get,
I thought you were gonna say you walk into her house and you open the cupboard and it was like nothing but Smuckers.
I have no idea what happened to any of the Smuckers. That's the thing too. Is like this whole like the cases of Smuckers. It wasn't like anybody showed me that it existed anywhere. Or like I also don't understand that either. Like what they would have been doing with all that Smuckers.
That's a lot of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Yeah.
They had to cut out peanut butter for that. They had to be just a jelly sandwich.
Right. Because can you make Swedish meatballs with jelly? Is that another thing you could?
I have no idea. Maybe.
I think that's I mean, I don't know that my relatives would have been making Swedish meatball. Like I don't see them like, because obviously this wasn't like, this would have been like right when the internet was kind of new, when only younger people used it. This would have been before like
the
people
recipes. Yeah.
Yeah, so there was no like, like, oh, let me. I mean, I guess your Better Homes cookbook would have had a Swedish meatball recipe. I'm sure.
I guess I know what you're thinking. You're trying to think what else can you do with jelly besides.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, since we both talked about Cobra, I guess we finished our Dudikoff list.
Right. So I guess my number one, because so Cobra was your number one.
Right. Yes. Oh, right. You still have your number one. So.
My number one, I kind of have changed my tune on this one a bit. It's Soldier Boys.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I really thought we weren't going to mention that today, and I thought, are we going to mention the video game?
Well, I was saying I have to ask the $1 million question. Are you talking about the movie or are you talking about the CD-ROM?
I'm definitely talking about the movie, though. So Will from Exploding Helicopter found the video game online. Somebody did a walkthrough of the video game. It is as bad as you'd think it is. It was, but there were scenes that they shot strictly for the video game, so they knew they were going to make this video game.
Interesting. So there's video game exclusive scenes. Wow, that makes it worth having.
With Dudikoff?
No, with just other actors and then the main characters other than Dudikoff. Yeah.
Okay.
Now Dudikoff.
So now you're out.
You're not buying it anymore. I'm not going to buy it. I already have Eminem and the Lost Levels, which we already talked about in a previous podcast.
I think that's slightly different, but yeah.
Yeah, Soldier Boys might be the most ridiculous of Dudikoff's films, which I think is saying a lot, right? Considering some of the ones that we've talked about over the time and all that stuff. But I mean, the idea, right, that he's in like this prison that's supposed to be for kids, but all the teenagers are in their 30s. And so he decides kind of on a whim that he's going to take these kids with him to go rescue some a woman who was kidnapped by a Vietnamese separatist group led by Kerry Tagawa. Mm-hmm. And it's just sort of like, I'm just going to take the kids with me. It's just sort of out of control. And then, of course, there's the scene where he's interviewing which kids he wants to take with him, and it's kind of the whole, like, one of them sitting with their feet up, and he's like, get your feet off the desk, kind of, you salute me, soldier, and all that kind of stuff. It's so all over the place. But yet there's a few features of it that are interesting. One, why am I drawing a blank on his name? This is horrible. The guy who directed the Black Swan and all those, in The Wrestler.
Darren Aronofsky.
He was a second unit director on the film. Some of the action scenes actually are really good, which was kind of something I had kind of forgotten about. Like especially at the end when there's like the exploding huts and all that stuff. Like they make it look really nice.
It's a good looking movie.
Yeah. But
I have never seen it. So I
that's right. So it might be at the archive. I'll try to get a copy.
Feel free to talk about it, but just so you know, I've never.
You've got to see it just once, just to have experienced it.
Yes, I know. I would like to.
Yeah, there's so much that happens in this movie that you just have to make such massive leaps of faith about. I mean, again, just the fact that he's going to take these kids who, yes, they're technically in their 30s, but there's also remember, with crime being big in the 90s, right, in America, there was this sense that you could take somebody from the inner city in America and put them anywhere, and they would just like be more hardened and tougher than any of the toughest criminals or the toughest military or whatever. And so that's kind of what they're doing here. Is they're like, okay, they're going to go fight these militant Vietnamese separatists. Just get some kids from the inner city in America, and they're going to be able to do it. The idea of it is kind of crazy, right? Because it's like suddenly he just trains them up within like a few montage scenes, and they're like good to go out in the field.
Yeah, they're fine.
Yeah. The place that they're shooting in, it looks like a tourist town. Like there's a faux restaurant and stuff like that. Like I don't even know like where. I think it was like in Thailand. I think they had this set for something else. So there's just so much going on with it. It's just too ridiculous, I guess.
Well, that sounds good. I mean, I like movies when there's like ridiculous plot jumps and nonsensical things. I love that. I don't like when movies are too like normal and rational. At least if they're like action or horror movies.
I might be able to get a copy. I'll keep an eye out for it because I don't have one.
I think it is on Tubi or one of those.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was looking at Tubi the other day. I know we should probably wrap up, but
Tubi, it said find your next rabbit hole.
They're not kidding. They're not kidding because I looking at everything they had in the action thriller. It's like that's my collection I'm looking at.
Well, you said you're going to stop buying ninja movies because you don't need to anymore.
I don't
Because
need
they
to,
have every
really.
ninja movie. They have all these
They have
Godfrey
Ninja
Ho things.
Terminator. Yeah, exactly. So I'm not going to buy anymore because they have at least 3 of them that I want to buy. So
So you got to
take it
watch
first.
those 3.
Yeah, I want Ninja Terminator first.
Yeah.
But I
all
guess
right.
we're at let's and you're on your list. I guess we could go ahead.
Honorable mentions?
None.
Oh, I thought
Nope.
you had something. Remember we talked about it earlier? You said I'll mention it at the end.
Oh yes, you mean the action adventure theater?
Oh yes.
Oh yes, yeah.
Oh, so what's cool about that is that he did 4 movies. It was Urban Warriors, Bronx Executioner, Bridge to Hell, and I can't remember the other one.
No, when you
right
say
now.
did, you mean just for
He introduced
them.
the 4 movies for Canon Video called Action Adventure Theater, hosted by Mike Dudikoff.
So it was a lot like Sybil Danning's Adventure Theater.
And and what's the other one? Was that Sybil Danning's Party Girls Theater?
Oh, that's something
that's,
else. No, but she had someone else's Party Girls Theater. It wasn't Sybil Danning. It was
it was someone else. It was
someone else.
Marilyn
But yeah,
Chambers.
was it? Okay. But I know for a while they had these special theater. Well, I think Elvira did some too.
Yeah,
where you introduce the movie. It's like new footage that they film.
Yes.
And so he did some of those, and you have them. The 4 from you have all 4.
I won't say which one I don't have because I want someone to steal.
Okay. Well, you can tell us after you get a hold of it.
I'll just tell you the titles. He did 4 of them, which were Bridge to Hell, Cross Mission, Bronx Executioner, and Urban Warriors. Now, one of those I don't have.
Okay. And he only did 4, huh?
He only did 4 of them. And here's the best part, though, because I think he said, "Hi, I'm Michael Dudikoff. You know me from American Ninja, and my upcoming movie, Death Sentence." So what's that? That was never made. So it's like
that is that's very interesting. I like that in movie history
so
where there's
cool.
a movie. You see this all the time in like the trade magazines, like Variety or whatever, or Fangoria or something. They say a movie's coming out with a certain title and it just never makes it because so many movies never get made. See, that's really interesting. Like, what if it was like an early script for the Death Sentence with Kevin Bacon? That'd
be so cool. I bet it would be like kind of like Death Warrant. That's my guess. Maybe I'll try to find some information, but I couldn't find much really. So that's really cool. Yeah, and when it was Party Girls Theater, was it Marilyn Chambers? It's someone else.
It wasn't Sybil Danning. I know that. But don't you have some of the Sybil Danning ones too?
I only have what's the title? It's some like war movie. It's kind of junky, but I have it. Party Girls Theater.
Well, anyway, Matt.
Ginger Lynn. Sorry.
Oh, Ginger Lynn's Party Girls.
Yeah. Ginger Lynn Allen's Party Girls Theater. I have one of them called Hot T-shirts. Let me see which ones I'm missing.
Okay, which is a much older movie. I think Hot T-shirts is from like the 70s, and they kind of rejiggered it for the 80s. And there is a really cool scene in that movie because they're trying to sell all the hot T-shirts, if I'm thinking of the right movie, and one of the girls is standing like right outside of Caldor's.
Oh, that's great.
Or a Caldor, but we call it Caldor's.
Caldor's,
like you see the old Caldor logo, and it's like that's like the only thing I remember from that movie. It was like pretty cool.
Someone has like a trade poster for it. It says Ginger Lynn Allen hosts an all-new series of classic Good Girl Gone Bad films as she invites you to join in the fun of Canon Video's Party Girls Theater. Hot T-shirts, Incoming Freshmen, Cherry Hill High, and the Yum Yum Girls. Coming soon.
Not a bad
June
slate.
14th.
I mean, that's I mean, she they interview her on some of the Blu-ray extras for some of the like Vinegar Syndrome movies she was involved in, like Mind, Body, and Soul. Like if you get that,
really?
With Wings.
With Wings.
Yeah, there's a Blu-ray of that, and they interview her, and she seems pretty cool. Seems kind of down to earth, and also, of course, New York Ninja, which she provided voices for.
Yes, that's right. That's right. She did. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny with the Canon thing because that was kind of a thing that happened with Canon, wasn't it? That they would have these projects that they would even advertise, right? That they would even put ads in newspapers, things like that for that just never ended up happening. I think there was one with a famous actor, I can't remember who it was, who that actor was like, no, you can't say you can't advertise about this until we actually do. I mean, it was Dustin Hoffman, somebody like that, and they advertised about it before the deal was official, and he backed out.
But that's what Canon would do all the time
too.
To raise money. They would do this.
Yeah,
they had to raise these funds.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess that's a good way to end it because it was coming from the Dudikoff of the movies, and then now we get the Dudikoff Presents.
Yeah.
So
All right. Well, that was fun. That was good romp down Dudikoff lane.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, do you
Thanks
guys
for having
have?
us on.
Yeah. Do you guys have anything you want to plug while we're?
Our podcast and website, ComeuppanceReviews.com and the Comeuppance
.net.
Reviews. Oh, sorry. Oh my God. Yes, that's right. It's been .net for years. I must have been thinking of that Devil's Express Blu-ray.
Okay, no, we're .net.
Yeah. Sorry, everyone. ComeuppanceReviews.net. Wow, where'd that come
and then
from?
Comeuppance Reviews, the website, or the
Yes,
podcast, and it's on
podcast.
Facebook under the name.
Yeah.
And
And if you want to talk Ty, your stuff on Instagram.
Yeah, the Tie Action Rocks. I posted the British horror movie called My Little Eye today.
Yeah.
If you want to have a date around this, and yeah, it's an okay horror movie, but it's kind of a coolish cover. So trying to post the cool movies on Sunday, the cool cover ones. I will post Primal Instinct probably tomorrow.
Oh yeah, everyone watch out for Primal
Michael
Instinct.
Madsen Monday.
Madsen Monday. Michael Madsen
Yeah.
Monday. Yeah.
I used to do that when I had Madsen movies on tape, and they ran out. So
So you got to bring that back. I mean, there's nothing really especially special about the cover for this movie.
No, it's just like it's Michael Madsen, and it's Monday. So.
And it has. Don't forget to mention that it has Edgar Allan Poe the Fourth also.
Yeah, of course I'll be mentioning that for sure. Well, thanks again for having us on.
Thanks again very much.
Thanks again, guys. It was great. It was another fun one, and I'm definitely go. I'll have the links to. I'll have those kind of the things you just mentioned at your plugs. I'll have them in the description as well. So
thanks.
Yeah, people can check that out as well. But yeah, thank you guys for coming on. Thank you everybody for listening, and we'll talk soon. Bye everyone.
Bye.